I am Anitha Chirumamilla. I'm the Extension Cropping System Specialist located at the Langdon Research Extension Center. Okay, I'm going to talk about two topics. The first one is the sunflower hybrid trials, and I would talk briefly about the insect trapping results for the 2023. I have the picture of the publication for the 2023 sunflower variety selection guide. Each year, NDSU researchers conduct or test varieties at various experiment stations. And at the end of the year, they collect all these data and compile into a publication. And this is that publication. And I'm going to talk about this one. But the link for finding this PDF of this publication online is highlighted in yellow on the bottom of the slide. But if you want to go for check out the location-specific trials, you can check out the link in the top right-hand corner, which has individual location performance data. And then NDSU has the latest variety selection tool where you can make your selection of the varieties based on comparing two or more varieties based on the traits you are interested in. And this is a very useful tool that you could use. It has data in the numerical form and also in the graphical form so that it is more easy for you to compare and contrast varieties and make your decisions. So let's talk about some numbers about sunflower production in North Dakota. This is the chart showing the number of acres of sunflowers in North Dakota for the past 23 growing seasons. And you can see in 2023, the yellow bars are the oil type sunflowers and the blue bars are the non-oil type. And you can see in 2023, oilseed sunflowers were grown in almost 500,000 acres in North Dakota, whereas the non-oil type or the confection sunflowers are 75,000 acres. And this is somewhat, you could see like compared to the year 2022, the oilseed acreage has gone down 24%. That is about 145,000 acres. Whereas the non-oil sunflower acreage has went up slightly, about approximately 18,000 acres. And maybe if you see the trend line for the past 23 years, there's a decline in the sunflower cultivation or acreage in North Dakota. And maybe if I am John Senbeck, and I should be worried about this. So that's acreage. So let's see the yield. And again, I have the data for the past 23 years. And the pink line shows the oilseed sunflower yield, whereas the purple line is for the non-oilseed type. And in year 2023, miraculously, we hit the record high yields in both the in both the types of sunflowers. Oilseeds was 1,970 pounds per acre, whereas the non-oil type was 2,190 pounds per acre. And this was like compared to the last year, 2022, there was a 70-pound increase in the yield for oilseed sunflowers and a 20-pound increase in the non-oil type. And look at the trend line. Unlike to the acreage that has been going down, the yields have been consistently increasing over years, and that's a good sign. So these are the locations where all the hybrid trial experiments or variety trials have been conducted in North Dakota. We have the research centers at different zones of North Dakota, and all these trials were conducted at 4 different locations, which is Fargo, Langdon, Carrington, Minot, and I'd say 4, but not 5, because the trials at the Hettinger Center, they were due to the extreme drought, I think they could not get any data out of it. So we are not presenting any data from Hettinger. So this is the list of the companies that submitted their hybrids for testing in 2023. And in 2023, we tested approximately 55 oilseed hybrids at 4 locations: Fargo, Carrington, Langdon, and Minot. And the different traits that were these hybrids had were oil types were ranging from the oil type traits were like mid oleic, high oleic, and traditional, which is linoleic. And the herbicide traits are Express Sun, Clearfield, and Clearfield Plus. And there were 9 different hybrids that had downy mildew resistance trait in them. And also we tested 22 non-oilseed hybrids at 3 locations: Fargo, Carrington, and Langdon. Minot did not have any non-oilseed trials. Okay, this is the example of I pulled out this data from the publication, where this is the trial for the oilseed hybrids tested at Carrington. And I want to show you what agronomic factors are each hybrid will be evaluated for. That is days to flower, days to maturity, plant height, test weight, oil content for oilseed sunflowers, and seed yield in pounds per acre. Depending on when they enter into the trial, they have 1 year yield data, but some hybrids have been earlier in the system, so they will have a 2-year average seed yield. For non-oilseed hybrids, all the other agronomic factors are similar, except for instead of the oil content, for non-oilseed types, the seed size is a agronomic factor that they evaluate the hybrids for. And I want you to focus on the bottom of the this table, where we have mean, CV percentage, and LSD. Mean is the average of any observation in the table. And how do you use CV and LSD values to make your decisions? CV is the coefficient of variation, and it is a measure of variability in the experimental trials, which is calculated as a percentage. You always want those numbers to be low, and low for any trial, because higher numbers of CV means that is the variations that are happening in the trials, and the variations cannot be attributed to the differences in the hybrids. So you always want to see low CV numbers. And LSD at 0.05 and 0.1, this is the least significant difference. And how do you use LSD values to select your hybrids? Is if you're interested in 2 hybrids, and you make the difference, or suppose you are looking at the yield of 2 different hybrids, and see the difference, if the difference between those 2 hybrids exceeds the LSD value, then it means that, like with the 95% probability or 90% probability, it means that the highest yielding hybrid has a significant yield advantage. And if the difference is lower than the LSD, then those 2 hybrids are pretty much similar. So make sure that you focus on those values while you are considering or making your decisions in selecting these hybrids. Okay, I have an example of the Carrington oilseed sunflower hybrid trial here. On the x-axis, you see all the hybrids, and on the y-axis, you have the yield in pounds per acre. And the first and the foremost, the factor which majority of the producers consider in selecting a hybrid is high yield potential, right? So look at these hybrids. So there are a few hybrids that crossed that 3,000 pound yield mark, and there are a couple of them that passed 3,500 pounds. However, when we are considering like what Greg said is like when you're selecting the hybrids for oilseed sunflowers, you should pay attention to yields as well as the oil content. And like Greg was explaining, markets provide a premium for the percentage increase in the oil percentage. So here I laid the percentage of um, oil content over the bars and see almost all the hybrids have oil percentage above 35%, but there are some varieties you could see like which have high yield along with high oil content, and those are the varieties I think those are more suggested because they can fetch high yield and as well as high premium of oil. So what are the factors where you need to consider while selecting a hybrid is the first and the foremost important thing is check the yield potential at the location nearest to you, and also make sure that you consider the yield at different locations or for several years. And also for oilseed sunflowers, make sure that the high oil content, it has a high oil content or oil type, because those are the things that will fetch you premium prices at the market. And seed size is an important thing for confection or non-oil type sunflowers. Make sure the next most important factor is maturity date. You want to select the sunflowers with the maturity date that falls well within your growing season. You don't want your sunflowers to mature and be hit by a frost, and because the frost will affect the yield and the oil content heavily for the sunflowers. So make sure that you consider that maturity date. And the other important thing is if you are in a disease or insect zone, make sure that when you are selecting the hybrids, look for the traits of insect or disease resistance if available, because that is the most easiest and effective way of managing the insects or diseases. And then the weed control system, select the weed control options or herbicide resistance traits based on your crop rotation or the weed control management practices you have in place. So let me switch gears to my second topic, that is insect trapping. And so insect trapping. So our state extension entomologist, Dr. Jan Konodal, heads the IPM project, which does insect trapping for 3 major sunflower insects in our state. That is banded sunflower moth, Arthur's sunflower moth, and sunflower moth. And these trapping is helpful for us to see the emergence or the population densities of the insects building up during the season, and that information can be shared to the growers and keep them aware of the significant pest infestation rates in their fields. And how we do this is like we set up the traps in the fields, and there is a lure in this trap that is coated with synthetic pheromone from females that attracts the male moths to this. And we go through these, check these trap liners every week and count the numbers. And the number of traps, the number of trap catches per night would be helpful in deciding the risk factor for these insects. So these are the locations that we have the trap set in North Dakota. And let's see, the banded sunflower moth. Everybody knows about the banded sunflower moth. This is the most common and also an economic pest in North Dakota. It's a small, tiny moth with that characteristic light tan moth with the characteristic triangular band on the front wing. The damaging stage is the larvae, which can eat the florets and bracts in the early stages, but then can start eating on the kernels and causing damage to the seed. And this is how the sunflower heads look like with the webbing on the surface of the head. It shows that there is banded sunflower moth in there. So here's the trap results for the season 2023. We didn't have a great year for the banded sunflower moth, which means that is good for growers. There are some populations. Green means low, and that is 1 to 25 moths per trap throughout the season. Blue is 26 to 100 moths, yellow 101 to 500, and red is more than 500 moths. We can see that some northeast and southeast and one location in the northwest, north central, had a little higher populations, but this is to the entire season catch. And you can see this is the weekly trap catches all through the season at different locations. And you can see the peak activities mostly starts in the third week of July, and it goes up to the second week of August. And there's the other second moth is the other sunflower moth. It is very similar looking to banded sunflower moth and also causes the same damage. It looks a little different. It doesn't have that characteristic triangular black patch, but it has just a straight brown patch on the front wings. And again, we didn't have high populations of this moth, so good news for our growers. And there's only one location, that is the northwest location, that had moderate numbers. And again, this peak activity is from third week of July to the second week of August. And the sunflower moth, you don't want this. This is not a native or doesn't overwinter in North Dakota. It has migratory pest and it comes from south. You don't want this insect in our state. And fortunately, we don't have this insect. It causes devastating infestations, if devastating losses to the crop. You can see how trashy this head is, and that's how they damage the seed. And fortunately, we don't have only one location. We had 2 moths per trap for the entire season, so we are lucky in that sense. So just summarizing, we didn't have a great year for the sunflower insects, and that is good news. But maybe drought might be playing a role in this. But watch for these trapping results on the website and the link provided below. It gives every week. We update this website, and it will keep you aware of what's going on or what insects are coming into our state. And with that, I'll take any questions.